It's April 18th, 2004. We're in Miami for Game 1 of a first-round playoff series between the Miami Heat and the New Orleans Hornets. The game is tied, and the Hornets need just one stop to send this game to overtime and maybe steal a road win. To prevent that outcome, the Heat need someone here to take and make a big shot. But whom? Before we see what happens, we need to learn about the intersecting trajectories of these two franchises in flux, and we need to meet some important characters. We need to rewind. Hey, let's talk about Patreon real quick. If you want to see videos like this without any ads, and see videos before they release on YouTube, and see exclusive stuff that will never reach this app at all, subscribe to Secret Base on Patreon. If you've zoned out on the NBA for a few years, some of the names on these uniforms might have you second-guessing yourself. Fronts and backs. It's all connected. I can explain. So, first of all, yes, a handful of guys on each of these teams used to be on the other team. These two teams have overlapped a lot over the last decade, and also the Lakers. Let's do a diagram. Okay, in 1995, Alonzo Mourning was the best player on the Charlotte Hornets. Glenn Rice was the best player on the Heat, and the Lakers were over here. Cheap-ass, creepy-ass Goblin Man George Shinn, owner of the Hornets, didn't want to pay Mourning, his superstar center. So he traded Mourning to the Heat. Glenn Rice was part of that deal. There you go. In 1996, the Hornets realized, hey, wait, now we don't have a good center anymore. We need to get one. So they traded their brand new draft pick, Kobe Bryant, to the Lakers for center Vlade Divac. So there's that. By 1999, the Lakers were like, wow, Kobe is really good. He's our star shooting guard of the future. We probably don't need our previous star shooting guard of the future, Eddie Jones. So they traded Eddie Jones to the Hornets for Glenn Rice. In 2000, Eddie Jones was like, I don't actually want to be on the Hornets, so the Hornets traded him to the Heat for Jamal Mashburn and PJ Brown. I'm oversimplifying things, but the point here is there's been a lot of cross-pollination, and the Hornets and Heat kind of helped build the Lakers, who, have since become 3-time champions. Surely that's the last time we do business with the Lakers guys, right? Right, guys? Anyway, after a couple big trades with each other, the Hornets and Heat met in a first-round playoff series in 2001. The Hornets won that series in a sweep. Those Hornets kicked ass. Even before doing more deals with the Heat, Charlotte had a young core featuring charismatic bowling ball point guard Baron Davis and super smooth big man Jamal Magloire. And then Brown brought them a touch of veteran savvy in the front court, and Mashburn, who had become kind of a third banana in Miami, hopped back into a starring role quite comfortably. So comfortably, in fact, that Mashburn became the rare player of his caliber to sign a long-term contract to stay in Charlotte. But about that, George Shinn wore out his welcome in Charlotte. While he was found not liable for multiple claims of sexual assault, his admissions in court made scandalous headlines, and also he tried to make taxpayers fund an arena. But Shinn refused to give up control of his team, not even to basically the ideal investor, and instead fled town with Charlotte's beloved NBA franchise in tow. He didn't necessarily prefer to move the Hornets to New Orleans. That's just where he and they ended up in 2002. Last season, 02-03, was new city, same great taste. Davis signed up long-term. Mashburn made his first career All-Star team at age 30. The Hornets brought playoff basketball to their new city and, well, then kind of a flame out in the first round. This year was newish city, not so great taste anymore. Shinn approved the firing of longtime Hornets coach Paul Silas, then literally hid from him. Then New Orleans hired Tim Floyd for some reason, and he has had a lot of trouble connecting with his team. Baron Davis did hit a new level of excellence this year, establishing himself as one of the best point guards in the whole league, but he has also had his issues with Floyd, and he missed a bunch of games to injury, which actually makes him luckier than his co-star. Jamal Mashburn's season has been almost a complete wash because of knee problems. We will not be seeing him in this series. Davis is playing, but you can tell he's in pain. And if your response to the above is, okay, that all sounds bad, but hey, the Hornets are still a playoff 5 seed, I will point you to the Eastern Conference standings. New Orleans finished this season exactly 500. In the East, that gets you a decent playoff spot. In the West, not even close. And next year, they'll be in the West. Yeah, the NBA is backfilling the George Shinn fiasco by adding an expansion franchise in Charlotte next season because there should be an NBA team in Charlotte. That new team will be in the Eastern Conference, which means someone has to move west, and obviously that's going to be the team that deliberately fled westward. Contending's about to get way, way tougher next year. 41 wins won't cut it anymore. This is a middling team that feels like a glass half empty. But hey, mid meets mid in the NBA playoffs. The 5-seed Hornets are trying to shut down the 4-seed Heat. Who specifically do they need to stop? Until recently, the obvious answer would be former Hornet Alonzo Mourning. Since the Charlotte Hornets dealt Zoe to Miami, he became the greatest player in Heat history to date, the centerpiece of all their best teams. But in 2000, when he was just 30 years old, a diagnosis of kidney disease rocked Mourning's life and his career. Mourning missed most of the next season, returned for a trying 01-02 campaign, then found out right before training camp last season that he wasn't in condition to keep playing. Mourning finally left the Heat last summer to sign with the New Jersey Nets, only to learn that he needed a kidney transplant and announce his retirement. This is Miami's first playoff series in a long time without Mourning or star point guard Tim Hardaway, and of course Jamal Mashburn is on the opposing team. So this is an extremely compelling play call right here. In this new era of Heat playoff basketball, who do you go to? Former Hornet Eddie Jones is over here. He's the leading scorer, and aside from Brian Grant, who's more of a rebounder, the only veteran on the floor with playoff experience. Which is to say, the Heat are young. They weren't supposed to be here. Their middling record looks like a glass half full. The Heat truly sucked in 02-03. They won 25 games. That team had some pretty inexperienced players logging major minutes. Chief among them, 2002 lottery pick Caron Butler. Butler had an awesome rookie season, but also the Heat depended way too much on their rookie. This offseason, Miami got even younger. Their biggest signing was Lamar Odom, a tall and dexterous 24-year-old with a ton of potential that he didn't quite fulfill with the LA Clippers. These 03-04 Heat didn't look doomed or anything, they just looked young and unproven and not particularly competitive, even in the weak Eastern Conference. And that was before the bombshell dropped. Days before the season began, longtime coach/executive Pat Riley resigned from those coaching duties. Miami's one reliable advantage, a legendary coach, suddenly gave way to Stan Van Gundy, a longtime assistant, brother of the famous Jeff, suddenly elevated to his first ever NBA head coaching job. Everyone had good stuff to say about Stan, but the last-minute switcheroo didn't exactly buoy expectations for this young Heat roster. And indeed, the new guy looked kinda overwhelmed at the outset. Miami lost its first 7 games of this season. The last one was a blowout defeat at the hand of Coach Stan's own brother. They entered the All-Star break 22-32, did not do anything at the trade deadline, and carried a losing streak into March. Then something clicked. Over their last 21 games, Miami went 17-4, including a perfect home record and a 7-game win streak capped by Skip to My Lou Rafer Alston's buzzer-beating overtime 3 against the Mavs. Why did the Heat get so good so fast? There's no one answer. Players point to Van Gundy's attention to detail. Odom calls his coach the Freak, and he means that fondly. Van Gundy would just as soon point to his players, and you take your pick. The reliable vets get credit. Caron Butler gets credit, playing a new role and working through some injuries in his second season. Surprise bench guys get credit too. Alston is a street ball legend turned journeyman who's having a breakout season in Miami. Udonis Haslem was undrafted out of Florida and playing in France last year, and suddenly that rookie is an important contributor. Odom is playing more and more power forward this season after mostly competing at small forward in LA, and he has looked awesome maneuvering against bigger players. The newcomers had a career best season with his new team. Odom just showed his unique value on the last possession, successfully tracking the smaller Baron Davis on a switch, then swatting his tie-breaking attempt at the rim. This is a cool squad, top to bottom. Miami finished with 42 wins, just barely above 500, but this is the fullest half-full glass you've ever seen. They are young and fun, and they're going places. Mediocrity never tasted so sweet. It is very rare for a team that started as poorly as the Heat did to play postseason ball, but here the Heat are with home court advantage. Then again, maintaining home court is very much in question if they can't get a bucket right here. You've met the kick-out options here. Jones could make something happen on the right wing, while Butler and Odom have created looks for each other on the strong side. But as this point guard crosses Davis into oblivion, I'm wondering if maybe this guy might take it himself. He might. This is no ordinary point guard. This is Dwyane Wade. When the Heat bottomed out last season, their consolation prize was a spin in one of the most anticipated draft lotteries ever. But the Heat did not win the chance to draft LeBron James, and the Pistons leaping up the draft order meant Miami didn't even snag one of the foremost consolation prizes. The Heat drafted 5th, and used that pick to draft Dwyane Wade. So who was Dwyane Wade as of last summer? For one thing, he was by far the oldest and shortest player taken in the top 5, the only true guard and the only college upperclassman of the bunch. Wade's path to the top 5 was similarly unusual. Wade had a late growth spurt and trouble qualifying for a scholarship, so he wasn't even in the top 100 of most national rankings in his class. Within his home state of Illinois, eyeballs were much more fixated on Darius Miles, Wade's former AAU teammate who jumped straight to the NBA. But Wade had serious scoring talent, so he at least drew recruiting interest within the region. Wade and his high school rival, O'Darty Blankson, committed as a tandem to Tom Crean's Marquette Golden Eagles. Wade sat his whole freshman year for academic reasons, and then, in the 01-02 season, Wade's slashing ability and mid-range touch instantly made him one of the top scorers in Conference USA. He led Marquette to its first NCAA tournament since 1997. Suddenly, people were talking about Dwyane Wade as a potential pro, but he wasn't inclined to test the draft waters just yet, especially since his knee required surgery right after that season ended. Sticking around paid off. Wade's junior season made him one of the top scorers in all of college basketball, a first-team All-American and a March Madness legend. Wade carried 3-seed Marquette all the way to its first Final Four since the 1970s. His best performance in that run came during an Elite Eight upset of Kentucky. Biggest game, biggest stage of his career to date, and Wade dropped a 29-point triple-double in a blowout. That did the trick. In a draft headlined by big teenagers, a 6'4" upperclassman from Marquette became a prospective lottery pick. Wade at one point sounded keen on going from Marquette to the nearby Milwaukee Bucks, who had the 8th pick. That seemed plausible for a bit, with the main question being one of position. Wade seemed too small to play shooting guard in the NBA, but he profiled as much more of a scorer than a point guard. Could he learn a new position? Pat Riley decided it did not matter. He deemed Wade a combo guard and took him with the 5th pick, higher in the order than almost any mock draft projected him. Riley envisioned lineups chock full of scoring guards where everyone could share ball handling duties. And then, Pat made the rotation someone else's problem. Thankfully for Coach Van Gundy, Wade has been less of a problem for him than for Miami opponents. They call him the problem child. The kid is quick and strong and acrobatic, and thus extremely difficult to contain off the dribble. It doesn't really matter if he's a point guard or not, although it is certainly relevant here. Coach Van Gundy got to call a play here, and then he put the ball in the hands of the rookie Wade. Is he looking for Wade to make a read and find someone else? Or is he really going to let a rookie attempt a game-winning shot in his first ever playoff game? A lot hinges on this moment. Home court advantage, the continued joy of this springtime Heat resurgence, the Hornets' chances of making a run before they get punted to the tougher conference, and of course, the rapidly rising reputation of the guy with the ball. Let's see what happens. Welcome to a moment in history.
And here we go. Maybe game one will be decided right here. Wade puts it up. It's good.
Yeah, baby. Came through.
But wait.
Smith
The Hornets have one more chance to score. Okay, never mind. Heat win. Good job, Dwyane. Thanks for watching. Hey, remember when I was talking about Secret Base's Patreon before? All these people subscribe to us there. For a few bucks a month, they get early and exclusive access to Secret Base stuff. I've got a podcast that only publishes over there, and I would love for you to hear that. But yeah, as long as we're on YouTube, here's some more stuff to watch. And I love you no matter what.